Greetings and felicitations.
Hip hip hurrah! Tally ho!
Hey, baby doll.
Hey, Puddin'.
Are you ready to talk about TV Guide? This is from 1967, Cleveland edition, the week of November 18th through 24.
So basically the Thanksgiving edition. Now where does it say Cleveland? Because I was looking for the area.
So what you do is when you open up the middle section, the one that's on that pulp paper, it will tell you in there which edition it is.
Oh, right there. Okay.
Yep.
Under the channels listed and all, Cleveland and
Yes.
Toledo and those
Akron,
areas.
Ohio, Erie, Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I love this cover. I think it's absolutely beautiful. Bob Peak cover of William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy as Captain Kirk and Mr. Spock.
Yes, but it's beautiful artwork. I mean, it does not look like them because it's got all these neat colors and it's got all these circles on it. It's almost like a Christmas edition. I mean, like Christmas balls.
Yeah, they look like Christmas horns now that you're saying. It's very psychedelic, too.
Yes.
Also, Bob Peak, he's done numerous covers for TV Guide, but Star Trek fans most know him for doing the poster for the motion picture.
That's awesome. He knows how to use color.
He sure does. So let's open it up. We do have an advertisement for Planters Dry Roasted Peanuts. Thanksgiving edition, so it makes sense that they'd advertise Thanksgiving during this time.
Well, hey, Planters is still around. I mean,
Absolutely.
yeah.
But anytime we went over our grandparents' house for Thanksgiving, there were always some kind of snacks. So
my mom always had, like a bowl of peanuts around, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Advertisement for Phoenix Mutual Retirement Income Plans. $1.50 survival kit for Lensine contacts. That's news to me. I didn't know they had contact lenses in 1967.
Oh, I didn't either. Yeah, I noticed that article too. That was amazing. They probably only had the hard lenses back then and not the soft lenses.
Yeah. Norelco razor. We have an ad for, look at how many ads this thing has. And it's just like modern magazines, right? Time, Newsweek.
Yeah.
Half the magazine is advertisements. So this is chicken broth. College Inn is the brand chicken broth. I never heard of that brand. Have you?
No, I don't think so.
Okay, so now here's the article you were talking about. TV is groovy, man.
Yeah, okay, so for an article, from a TV Guide issue in the 1960s, they had to write about hippies.
Mm-hmm. And talking about smoking grass and watching TV.
It was so funny reading that. So everything we think about hippies is really, that's the way they saw them back then, too. The psychedelic thing, the drugs, the groovy man, and
this guy that they interviewed, he said his favorite way to watch Gunsmoke is turning the volume down and turning the Beatles up.
Wow. Yeah. What this says is like they really didn't care as much for TV. Well, the article talks about how TV has changed society because people watch more TV and don't have as much conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Which I heard growing up, too.
Of course. And now that has been replaced with cell phones.
Right. So there's always going to be something new that society is worried about.
Yes. Then we have an advertisement for GMC trucks. We have an article about when your free-loading relatives arrive. So it's advice for maintaining peace on Thanksgiving Day. Talks about having multiple television sets. This was the era when people were starting to get a second television set.
Yes, and this article said it's a good idea, because you can have people watching at the same time and not all crowded in one area and
Yes.
watching a different channel.
So you could have different types of programming or different sports that are aired at the same time. You can watch them both, and it depends on what you want to watch. Advertisement, Career Academy out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. What interests you? A disc jockey, newscaster, sportscaster, announcer? An article about Debbie Reynolds. Now, normally, actually, I breezed over this. I didn't really care about it, but then you brought to my attention what's the connection that this is interesting.
Debbie Reynolds is Carrie Fisher's mother.
Yes.
So, even though and the article it says she has a daughter named Carrie, but she was pretty young at this time, so Carrie Fisher had not made a name for herself, had not done Star Wars yet,
Mm-hmm.
because this was 1967.
Mm-hmm. Sure thing.
But, I mean, I was a fan of Debbie Reynolds. I mean, I knew her from Singing in the Rain. And she was on an episode of Love Boat in which she sang. And I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But I only saw one, like Singing in the Rain, I think was the only one of her old movies that I saw. But I had heard of her. Of course, she was famous. And she, and everyone knew that she had been married to Eddie Fisher. And this article made it look like she's pretty down to earth. She does say, like, yes, I'm rich and I didn't grow up rich, so now I have all this money, but I do appreciate it, is the way she put it. She'll never, forget her roots, where she came from.
Mm-hmm. That's great. Ad for Pall Mall cigarettes. It wouldn't be a 60s TV guide without a cigarette ad. I was waiting for it. This one came a little bit late.
Yeah, but even in, like, through the 70s, you could see a lot of cigarette ads in magazines.
Mm-hmm. Okay, a Panasonic portable television advertisement. Again, this is the era when people were thinking about a second television and a color television. So this was a affordable way to get a color television, getting something that was maybe 13 inches. A larger portable one would be 19 inches, which is crazy to think that a 19-inch would be portable, but they put a handle on the back of it.
Even though it was pretty big.
It's heavy,
and
yeah.
And TVs were big back then, that like not the flat screens like you have now.
Sure. Sylvania Servicemen advertising for television repairmen. Makes sense. And the cover article is unique because instead of having an interview with William Shatner and Leonard Nimoy, it's actually a series of letters that were written to them and the answers that were received. So the title is Star Trek Wins the Ricky Schwartz Award, not to mention the loyalty of millions of viewers. So let's start out. First question, or first letter, I should say. Dear Mr. Spock, me and my cousins were watching your show, and he said he knew a friend in his class who wrote and asked you for phasers and communicators, which are on the television sometimes. Me and Mike would like you to send us 2 phasers, 2 communicators, and 2 pairs of your pointed ears.
I know, that was hilarious. So they got letters like that, and so, and of course, and this article doesn't really say what they did. Like, I mean, maybe they sent autographed pictures, but that would probably be it.
That was the standard, absolutely. And it goes on to talk about what Leonard Nimoy is like and how he's very much a thinking person. He likes to philosophize on different aspects of life. He enjoys the adoration, but he mentions that he picked up Star Trek because he needed the job. He was at a place in his life where he would pick up any job.
He had already done some work before that, but I think this was the first time he had a regular part on a TV series. And that is what actors want, because that's a steady job, at least they hope it'll go on for years.
It mentions that he was an obscure actor who principally played Indians and Mexican villains. And he had experience, and Star Trek gives him a sense of security that few actors enjoy.
Definitely, because I've heard actors talk about that at cons, about how they want to be on a regular series. And I had seen Leonard Nimoy on an old Western as an Indian.
Mm-hmm.
So he did get parts like that. I mean, that, like a lot of Westerns, because that's what was on back then.
And it mentions how he developed the Spock or the Vulcan neck pinch, because the script called for Spock to punch the villain, but Spock felt that Vulcans needed to do something a little bit more intelligent than punch. He's quoted by here saying, punching is the sort of thing that they do in Westerns. So, he developed the neck pinch.
It's funny to say that. Yeah, I mean, I know that story has been passed down, and I love that he created that. Mm-hmm. But still, for him to say that is strange, because didn't Kirk do punches? I mean, they still had punches on Star Trek, just not by Spock.
Yes, that was the point. It mentions that when he tries to go out and relax, he tries to change his appearance by parting his hair and wearing dark sunglasses, but people still recognize him.
Yeah, so that means Clark Kent would actually get recognized as Superman. Yes, okay.
Here's a letter to William Shatner. Dear William Shatner, I watch your program every week. It is my best program I like. I wrote you a letter about 6 weeks ago, and I asked you to send me a souvenir of the Enterprise spaceship. Why didn't you send it to me? I asked you to send me a little bit off of the Enterprise and a piece of your old shirt.
Well, why didn't he send it? I wonder. I mean, you write these letters to these people, and they're supposed to send you whatever you ask for, without, any money either. They're just supposed to send it.
You can tell it's just kids writing stuff. But then it breaks down what William Shatner's like, how he's an experienced Shakespearean actor, and he was on a cross-country tour over the summer of '67 promoting Star Trek.
Oh, was that the, giving speeches and taking questions about being Captain Kirk?
Yeah.
That's great.
And he said there were mobs of people trying to tear up my clothes, and police were trying to ward them off.
I mean, see, Star Trek was popular back then. I mean, it had an audience back then.
No doubt about it. He said one time someone said to him, "Hello, Captain Jerk, how's Mr. Spark?" To which Shatner replied, "He's still plugging along."
Well, that's good. Have a sense of humor and just roll with it.
Then it was brought up if there was tension on the set between Leonard Nimoy and William Shatner. It was brought up just like Robert Vaughn and his partners on The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Sometimes there might be some tension with who's the star of the show, who's the most popular of the show. And William Shatner said that, they get along well. Anytime something comes up outside of the show, they try to attack it, such as getting into the music field. He mentioned that he's working on a singing album, and also Leonard Nimoy just released one called Mr. Spock's Music from Outer Space.
Yes, and I do remember reading somewhere that Leonard Nimoy would, do whatever, like if someone said record an album, I mean, he would do whatever to make extra money. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, he wanted to do that. But I think that album, you can still find it in some places.
Absolutely. He talks about on hiatus, he was just in Spain working on a Western film. And listen how down-to-earth William Shatner was back in 1967. One of his 3 daughters, 9-year-old Leslie, said, "Daddy, are you a star?" He said, "No, I'm a working actor." Which makes sense.
I was just thinking what do you think Bill would say now to his, of course his daughters are grown, but but he'd be like, "Yeah, I'm a star." But yeah, I love how this article was saying that William Shatner is the one that's more physically active, motorcycles and stuff, and Leonard Nimoy, what did he took his kids on a vacation sailing or something, but something that wasn't as physical.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Next letter goes to Gene Roddenberry. The report you are about to read, Project Vulcanus, the Vulcanian system, is a result of 6 months of research and calculation. I have endeavored to make my astronomical calculations as accurate as possible, but there may be some errors, especially in the areas of distance and mass. And attached was a 21-page document filled with diagrams. So, can you imagine Gene Roddenberry was getting mathematical calculations about astronomy sent to him and space exploration sent to him?
I mean, it's unimaginable. Like it was a fan sending him all this science stuff just because he was the producer of a science fiction show, and the guy just thought Gene would be interested and maybe hoped that he might use it on the show.
But this article talks about the impact of real-world science that Star Trek has had on people. For example, the Smithsonian Institution asked for a print of the Star Trek episode, and also the U.S. Navy has inspected the bridge Enterprise as a model for a proposed communications center, which is really cool.
That's amazing. So these other places, the Smithsonian and the military, were interested in Star Trek. They respected and liked it enough to want these things from the show. I mean, that is just so astounding.
And also, the best-selling model kit for the year was the Star Trek kit. So I assume they mean the kit of the Enterprise, which is absolutely fantastic. I know that when I was younger, I had a model Enterprise kit.
Yeah, I mean, those were pretty big. Right? Model kits back then used to sell a lot, right? Back
Absolutely.
In the 60s and 70s.
That was probably the heyday for model kits.
And there's also an article on Antoinette Bauer. there's a picture of her in here, and she is beautiful. She was on Star Trek, but see, in this picture, like, I can't really tell it's the same person that was on Star Trek.
Because on Star Trek, she was in cat's paw with a black curly-haired wig.
Yes, exactly.
So, but in real life, she has lighter hair, straighter, pulled back.
But it's a very elegant picture. I mean, it's, it's just like the Hollywood starlets used to look back then.
Mm-hmm. I did not recognize her at all.
So this is just it's a one-page interview with her. And it does say that she has done a lot of TV and movie appearances, but she's not famous. So that's why you've never heard of her. Mm-hmm. And it does mention, it says she played a black cat in Star Trek, and she was a spy on Hogan's Heroes. She was a double for Barbara Bain on a Mission Impossible episode. She's been on Man from U.N.C.L.E., Wild Wild West, and several other shows. So, I mean, it's just an interesting article about a character a person you've probably seen a lot of places, but just never knew that it was her.
That's true.
And then there's an article here it says, an uninvited guest crashes the party. And this one is mostly about Hollywood parties, and the article kind of skips around because it kind of goes into different things, about TV, how TV has become more popular than movies.
I could see that.
Because TV is in your home. You're watching it every day. The movies, you have to go out, you have to pay a little money for it, and so TV has become it was 1967. TV was not really new back then because people watched TV in the 50s, but it was still becoming more and more popular as a medium and as a form of entertainment. And so in this article, there is a little quote from William Shatner, who said, the movie stars may be bigger, but people know us better. On TV, you're invited into their homes. You're part of their family. There's a real intimacy. On Friday night, I'm there, and that's why when they see me, they say, hi, Bill. How's the ship? How's Leonard? How's the dog?
How cool is that? It's so true, though, because when I think of the TV stars, I really do think of their stories closer than the movies, because the movies, it's a one-shot deal, whereas TV, it's on repeats all the time, if not watching it in real time once a week. So I understand that transition that happened in the late 60s. Totally makes sense.
And for shows like Star Trek, I mean, it was on week after week, so you get familiar with these people. And it talks about people who go to parties all the time, people you always see in Hollywood, people you never see in Hollywood. So this is an article basically about who was still famous, things like that.
Because you figure it's a transition era.
It is. Because TV is becoming, like as you said, more popular, and even though people are still going to the movies, movie prices are also increasing. I mean, that was something that I grew up with, my parents saying that movies were expensive back then, and they cost even more now.
And you have the transition of the black and white era going into the color era.
For television especially, because movies had already been in color at this time for several years. So now TV is just going into color, so it's becoming even more popular.
So let's talk about some of the events that happened in 1967 in the world of television. Well, on January 15th, the inaugural Super Bowl is simulcast on CBS and NBC.
The Rolling Stones appear on CBS's The Ed Sullivan Show, where, at Sullivan's insistence, they perform Let's Spend the Night Together as Let's Spend Some Time Together. So they had to change the words to their song?
Exactly. And the same year, the same thing happened later on with the Doors. Doors had to change some of their lyrics because certain things you just couldn't say over television over that time. Imagine how horrible that is. Let's spend the night together.
Yeah. And, but it's still interesting that all of these big acts started on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Totally. Yeah, it was, later on in September when the Doors were performing Light My Fire. The lyric was, girl, we couldn't get much higher. And guess what? Jim Morrison did not change that lyric. And from that point forward, they were banned from the show.
And, gee, it hurt his career, didn't it?
Also, February 16th of 1967, the first airing of Space Seed on Star Trek, which introduced Khan Noonien Singh, as played by Ricardo Montalban. No one at that time would think that he would come back decades later.
Yeah, no one would have thought he would play Khan again. But Ricardo Montalban was, I think he was not famous at that time when he did Star Trek, but he became famous later, before he played Khan in Wrath of Khan.
That's right. Also, ABC's Dark Shadows went into color in 1967. Remember, originally black and white.
It was.
The Fugitive finale proves to be one of the most watched episodes of the decade. And that formula of The Fugitive transferred over later on into the 70s with The Incredible Hulk.
Oh, yes, being hunted down and having to keep on the move. Well, the movie The Fugitive with Harrison Ford was a great movie, too.
It really was, yep. Debuting in 1967 on Canadian television, The Prisoner. Also,
another popular show.
Oh, totally. That was great. What an amazing British television show that was.
Now, what channel did you say it was on?
On CTV in Canada.
Yes, because it was, usually people watch these shows on Georgia Public, because I was in Georgia Public Television or PBS, Public Broadcast System, for the British shows.
That's true. Spider-Man animated series. Now, we love that show.
The old Spider-Man. You hardly ever get to see it.
Spider-Man.
Does whatever a spider can.
Who doesn't love that theme song? Also, George of the Jungle debuted that year. The Carol Burnett Show.
Love the Carol Burnett Show.
Love the Carol Burnett Show. Are you kidding me?
That show was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
And, all of the skits were good. And that show lasted a long time, made Carol Burnett a star, and she was such a great talent.
Some of the TV shows that ended in 1967, and obviously we're talking about the ones with more of a geek slant, included The Green Hornet, Ultraman, The Fugitive, Time Tunnel. Now, I love Time Tunnel. That really was a good show. And Space Ghost.
Oh, really ended at that time.
Mm-hmm.
But then some of these shows were brought back later.
Yes.
Either as remakes or they kept re-showing the same one.
That's true. So let's open up to the center portion of the TV guide and talk about, day by day, what shows we would have been watching. Kavor, if I were to come over your house on Saturday morning, November 18th, would you let me come in and watch Saturday morning cartoons with you?
Sure, but what kind of cereal are you going to bring?
Well, a new cereal debuted in 1967. That is Captain Crunch's Crunch Berries.
Ooh. I don't know. I don't think I ever had the Crunch Berry, but I like Captain Crunch.
Okay, so let's try the Crunch Berries together. Alright, so let's break it down. Saturday morning at 8 o'clock. Do we want to watch Beagle's Cartoon, Underdog Cartoon, Milton the Monster, Bugs Bunny, or Captain Kangaroo?
Captain Kangaroo.
I'm going to say Underdog.
Well, all right.
You're controlling the television. Are you going to let me watch Underdog?
No, we're going to watch Captain Kangaroo.
All right, how about this? At 9 o'clock, Super 6, Frankenstein Jr., or Casper?
Casper.
All right, I've never seen Frankenstein Jr. before. How about this? Super President, Learn to Draw, Herculoids, or Fantastic Four? At 9:30.
Oh, I guess Herculoids. It would be between that and Fantastic Four.
Yeah, Fantastic Four was good at that time. How about this at 10 o'clock? Flintstones, Spider-Man, or Shazam?
Shazam.
Now, it says Shazam with an N.
Oh,
not
that's
Shazam.
That's a different show.
So I think it's a different show. Because I remember Shazam from the 70s.
Right, it was. But some of these things were, there were different versions of them at different times.
Mm-hmm. I would go for Spider-Man. Samson and Goliath at 10:30, or Center of the Earth, or Space Ghost?
Space Ghost.
Totally, I agree with that. How about 11 o'clock, Birdman or King Kong? or Moby Dick?
Birdman?
I don't even know what that is. I'm going to go for King Kong.
No, I don't know. I'm just thinking about I just know the one on Adult Swim was, well, I think it was Harvey Birdman, but that was probably different.
11:30, Adam Ant, Secret Squirrel, George of the Jungle, or Superman Aquaman?
Now, what was that first one you said?
Not Adam Ant, like...
I know, yes, yeah, not the singer.
Adam
not
Ant,
the singer
yes.
Adam Ant.
A-T-O-M.
Okay. Oh, A-T-O. Okay. But, okay, say all that again.
Okay, Adam Ant and Secret Squirrel, George of the Jungle, or Superman and Aquaman?
Superman, Aquaman.
Oh, I knew you were going to say that. You're a DC
course.
girl. You'd love them. Okay. Later on, afternoon, 12 o'clock, Top Cat, musical, The Best Things in Life are Free, Championship Bowling, cartoons, or the Beatles?
Oh, let's just say cartoons.
I'll see what that's like. 67 Beatles? I like Beatles in 67, so I could go with that. How about 12:30, Johnny Quest, American Bandstand, which has the guests Strawberry Alarm Clock singing Incense and Peppermints, and Pink Floyd?
American Bandstand.
Yeah,
even though I don't know that guest.
But that would be an interesting one. I'd like to, like early Pink Floyd in the 60s. Yeah, I'd like to see that. Incense and Peppermints, love that song. One-hit wonder, essentially. 1 o'clock, Lone Ranger cartoon, Sea Hunt, Mr. Ed. What would you like out of those?
Lone Ranger?
Yeah, I agree. I kind of like that one, Lone Ranger. It went by color by this time. I remember watching the black and white ones. So, let's take a break, have some lunch. Your mom going to make some sandwiches for us?
Yeah, she will.
Alright, so let's take a break and talk about some other TV shows that were on in the evening. Such as 5 o'clock, Gadabout Gaddis. It's a fishing show. Or Carol Burnett.
Carol Burnett.
Hands down. Absolutely we would watch Carol Burnett.
Are you really reading all the choices? There's really more than that.
At 5 o'clock, only 2 choices, yeah. Actually, Insight, a religious show.
No, see there. Okay, Gadabout, Insight, Carol Burnett. Okay, yeah. Those 3. Yeah. Okay.
You got to figure back then there were only a handful of channels.
That's true.
Right?
There were just 3 channels.
Just weren't a lot. 3, and then you had, you're looking at these. You have the UHF channels.
Okay, maybe a few more.
So you have 3 networks essentially, but then you have your local broadcasts.
That's what I thought. Yeah. See, like here at 7. You have a few more choices, so it's just how the shows are staggered.
Well, you got to figure in the afternoon on Saturday morning, there was also college football, and so that took up a lot of space.
Right, that
and then
was
you had some
the
movies.
Other channel, yeah.
Yeah, and you also had, look at that, 4:30, there were a whole bunch of college football games, so you had blocks of time taken out of Channel 8, Channel 5.
Right.
You're stuck. If you didn't like college football, yeah, you're screwed. All right, how about evening time? 6 o'clock. Big Ralph Variety, more fishing shows, Canton, Past, Present, Burke's Law, or Andy Griffith. In color.
Andy Griffith.
Yeah, Andy Griffith in color.
Oh, no.
He was older back then, yeah. Little Opie Cunningham.
But the Andy Griffith in color was really not as good as the black and white episodes.
I agree. It's like Lucy in color.
Yeah, they kind of jumped the shark when they went to color.
Mm-hmm. Carol Burnett is on again. I guess she was real popular right at the beginning, or different channels were posting her. She was on again at 6:30. So you had a choice of Carol Burnett, The Monkees, Family Affair, or the movie Captain from Castile.
Wow. We need to be able to watch all of those at some point.
Were you a Monkees fan?
I watched it, but it was never really one of my favorites.
Me neither. Even as a little kid, I was like, why are they in the middle of the street with a bed?
Yeah, it was just not my thing.
Yeah, I'd go for Carol Burnett. I watched Carol Burnett at my grandparents' house a lot.
And all of these fishing shows. Now, my parents loved to watch fishing on TV.
Really?
Well, of course, they liked going fishing themselves. But I was still not as much into it as they were.
How about 7:30? Maya, which is an adventure show. The Dating Game. Jackie Gleason. And look what's scheduled. Jackie plays a dual role on his Honeymooners comedy. Or The Rifleman.
I guess Jackie Gleason, even though I didn't really watch that show, but you loved it, right?
I love anything he does. He's super talented. All right, how about this? 8:30, Get Smart, Lawrence Welk, or My Three Sons?
Well, Get Smart, of course. Out of those, even though
yeah.
I like My Three Sons too.
Mm-hmm. Again, My Three Sons in color, I didn't like it as much as in black and white. Because the kids were getting much older then.
Oh, actually, no, My Three Sons, I think I only saw the color episodes. I didn't see it in black and white. Yeah.
All right, how about this? 9 o'clock, a drama, movie, Hemingway's Adventures of a Young Man, Hogan's Heroes, and 9:30, Iron Horse, Petticoat Junction. Which one would you watch out of those? I'll watch Hogan's Heroes.
Yeah, probably. Even though that wasn't really one of my shows either.
I used to watch that in the morning on repeats. For some reason, they used to have that early in the morning, and I liked watching it.
I was more of a Gomer Pyle fan, but okay.
Oh, absolutely, I like Gomer Pyle. Late at night, 10 o'clock, Mannix. 10:30, Good Company, Rifleman, Felony Squad. I think by this time we gotta turn it in. There's nothing that would interest me, because look at that, then it's just weather, sports, news, weather, sports. Late at night, it was tons of news programs.
Yeah, and that's the way it was for me growing up, too. It was mostly news late at night. My parents would stay up and watch the news.
But 11:35, they did have a late-night science fiction movie, It Came from Outer Space, 1953, Ray Bradbury.
Oh, that would have been neat.
So, let's look at Sunday morning. Sunday morning is mainly religious shows, but I always did watch Davy and Goliath. I love that type of claymation, like Gumby. I mean, there are a ton of religious shows. There was a show called Mr. T back then, but it can't be the Mr. T that we know.
I wouldn't think so. They have something called Polka Varieties. That sounds like it should be a Weird Al show.
So Sunday evening, 6 o'clock. We have a choice between Bronco, Kindergarten, 6:30, Young World, Mannion Forum.
Oh, I don't know.
Man, I don't know any of these shows. I mean, they had to be really short-lived shows. How about this one? 7 o'clock, Voyage, or Lassie, Greatest Show, News and Perspective.
Lassie.
Totally Lassie.
Yeah.
How about this? Walt Disney at 7:30, One Day on Beetle Rock, or Gentle Ben.
I guess Gentle Ben.
I like Gentle Ben.
But I think I do remember Disney.
Because I remember had Clint Howard in there.
Yeah, you're right. That was like that. I barely remember that. But I know, like Disney, there used to be wasn't there Walt Disney on every Sunday night? Yeah, even when we were growing up.
Yeah, Walt Disney's World of Color.
Yeah.
Or how about this? 8 o'clock, Debbie Reynolds Variety Show. Ed Sullivan, scheduled, is Eddie Albert of Green Acres. George Hamilton. Diana Ross and the Supremes. And the Temptations. Flip Wilson. And the Muppet Puppets. I would watch Ed Sullivan. I mean, that's an all-star lineup right there.
The thing is, for the Debbie Reynolds show, and they've got their special close-up on the Debbie Reynolds special, Frank Gorshin is on it.
Okay, so you have a Star Trek connection there.
Yeah. But I mean, this issue of TV Guide actually has the list of, like for Debbie Reynolds' show, they have all the songs that she's going to sing, and who she's singing it with. I mean, it's just, like giving away the whole show, basically. It's kind of like a spoiler.
Yeah, you're right. There's no point of surprise there. All right, how about this at 10 o'clock? High Chaparral. I don't even know what that is.
I thought it was some kind of Western.
It probably is. There's a lot of Westerns of this time period. Or Mission Impossible.
Oh, Mission Impossible.
Oh, hands down, Mission Impossible. Martin Landau was still on the show at that time. And, I mean, Peter Graves. I really love Mission Impossible. You gotta figure this is 1967, so Leonard Nimoy wasn't on there yet.
Right, he wasn't on it yet, but yeah, and I probably didn't even get to see those, like the one that was in reruns. I didn't even see it back then.
11:15 movie, The Incredible Shrinking Man from 1957. I love that one. So I would stay up late to watch that one. All right, how about Monday morning? A lot of educational news things in the morning, even some religious shows. 7:30, Donna Reed. Were you a Donna Reed fan?
No, but my mom was.
8:30, Romper Room. Were you a Romper Room fan?
Yeah, I watched it sometimes.
Oh, I totally was too. Candid Camera was on at 10 o'clock in the morning, which I loved Candid Camera. I thought it was so funny. And at 10:30, the Beverly Hillbillies. Were you a Beverly Hillbillies fan?
Yeah, I used to watch that every day.
Andy Griffith at 11 o'clock. Me too. I loved it. 11:30, Hollywood Squares, Family Game, or Dick Van Dyke.
Hollywood Squares.
I liked Hollywood Squares and Dick Van Dyke. So if I was staying home sick from school on a Monday, I could watch either one of those.
And this is Thanksgiving week, so we probably would have been home.
Very likely, yeah, that's true. 12 o'clock in the afternoon. Now this is interesting. Jeopardy was on. Now, we've always known Jeopardy as a mealtime show. Can you imagine that being on at 12 o'clock noon?
Yeah, it must have been really different.
Totally.
I didn't even know the show was that old.
That's wild. Also, Divorce Court is on 12:30. I didn't know there was a divorce court back then.
Yeah, I didn't
Like,
either.
wasn't divorce a virtually a foreign subject in 1967?
I thought it was too. Yeah. So, but anyway, so they had that show, and then it was a show that was brought back.
Mm-hmm. Fugitive was on at 1 o'clock. Now, which soaps did you watch when you were growing up?
Days of Our Lives.
Because that's on at 2 o'clock.
Okay. Yeah, I know that show's been on a long time.
All right, at 4:30, you have a choice of Candid Camera, Leave It to Beaver, cartoons, Alfred Hitchcock, Smart Sewing, Merv Griffin with Rodney Dangerfield. I bet you that was funny. Or Twilight Zone. Twilight Zone in the afternoon. That's so strange to me. Because I always associate it with late night television.
Yeah, I don't know why it would be on that early. Because even back then I thought they would have considered it more of an adult show.
Yeah, that's crazy. So I could watch Twilight Zone or Alfred Hitchcock or Leave It to Beaver. Realistically, around that time, I would watch Leave It to Beaver.
Well, yeah, because that's the kind of show that was on at that time when we were kids.
5 o'clock, Sea Hunt, Merv Griffin, a movie, Mother Don't Tell Me, Shotgun Slade, The Rifleman, Rainbow Theater, or cartoons. That's a hard one. I think I'd have dinner.
Yeah, probably.
Because there's Mike Douglas again at 5:30. I mean, Mike Douglas was dominating the airwaves at this time. Mike Douglas is on again at 6 o'clock. I mean, it's just 5:30. It's just constant Mike Douglas. And Rifleman. Boy, Rifleman was on multiple time slots. Go figure. 8 o'clock, though, on Monday night. The Man from U.N.C.L.E. Fantastic series. I would definitely watch that at 8 o'clock. Now, how about this? At 8:30, the Lucille Ball Show. Were you a fan of that?
Yeah, I was for a while.
I watched it, but it could never stand up to her earlier I Love Lucy.
No, it wasn't as good as I Love Lucy, no.
9:30, you have a choice of Danny Thomas, Felony Squad, Andy Griffith, Arnold Toynbee. What would you watch? I already know.
Andy Griffith.
Andy Griffith,
yeah.
Absolutely. I Spy was on at 10 o'clock. Late night television included Peter Gunn, which is a mystery, at 12:30. Sea Hunt, 1 o'clock in the morning. So we're seeing that we're starting to get television shows staying a little bit later. Because you remember the year before, there was a cutoff. You didn't see too much past 12 o'clock. So little by little, people are staying up later. Advertisings are willing to advertise later.
And there's more content.
There's more content.
To have round-the-clock viewing.
Mm-hmm. So we remember when we were younger, there was a point where they'd play the national anthem at the end and the station would shut off at night. So we're still not at the 20... It's going to be years till we get to the 24-hour programming.
Yeah.
Now there's a centerpiece in the middle talking about special holiday offer. Capitol Record Club announces this great Christmas offer. Take 12 stereo or regular albums for only $3.95.
Yeah, this is a cardboard pullout. They expect you to pull it out and place your order.
Okay, so when you got TV Guide when you were younger, what was the first thing you did with these cardboard pullouts?
I would pull them all out and basically just throw them away.
Because they annoyed you.
Yeah.
So this one is actually the size of the magazine, though. It's a full. This thing is a total pullout.
Well, it's back when the TV Guide was the size that it fit in your hand.
But here's some of the songs. Laura's theme from Dr. Zhivago. That's beautiful. I love that. I might put that in mine. Beatles Revolver. I would pick that.
This was the Pick 10 deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, Pick 10 deal. I mean, a lot of it is I wouldn't pick at all.
Do they have Leonard Nimoy's album?
They don't. But they have Frank Sinatra, Sentimental Journey. I would get that. Matt Monroe, but it doesn't have James Bond theme in there. Wes Montgomery, California Dreamin'. I might get that. Johnny Cash, Hey Porter. I would get that probably.
See a Dr. Doolittle.
Okay. Would you get that? How about this? Chad and Jeremy. They were on Batman on one episode. Classic Roy Orbison, Best of the Animals. More Frank Sinatra. Check this out. Batman original TV soundtrack.
Oh, that would be
We would
cool.
get that one. Totally. Beach Boys Pet Sounds.
They've got Loretta Lynn. I didn't know she was that old.
Yeah. And Wizard of Oz with Julie Garland.
Oh, that would be nice,
I would work
too.
all those in there.
I think, I see Dean Martin. Yeah, the classics, yeah.
Oh, anything from the Rat Pack. Pull those out. Alright, Tuesday morning. So, we're having a lot of repeats with the same with Monday morning. And we're going to see that that's pretty much the case with,
Even now,
with all the
I mean,
daytime
yeah.
things. Yeah. A little bit of variety, but not so much. The key is now going on during the week. It's what's going on at nighttime. 6:30 at nighttime, Twilight Zone. 7:30, you have a choice of I Dream of Jeannie, Garrison's Gorillas, Hall of Fame Football, or The French Chef with Julia Child.
I Dream of Jeannie.
Love I Dream of Jeannie, absolutely. 8 o'clock, Jerry Lewis comedy, mystery movie, Sherlock Holmes and the Voice of Terror, or Eugenia Thornton. It's a Roman historian book club.
Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah, I would pick that one
Does
too.
it say who plays Sherlock in that one?
Let's see. Basil Rathbone.
Oh,
That's a good one.
Geez. Yeah, neat.
8:30, Invaders. Red Skelton, Tangled World. 11:30, Johnny Carson. Special guest, folk singer Joan Baez. The Joey Bishop Show. Or movie, Miami Exposé. What would you watch?
I guess nothing. But I know Johnny Carson was
I like
really
Johnny
popular.
Carson.
And I
so
didn't know
would
he
watch
went
him.
back that far either.
How about this Wednesday evening? Later on, there's a section in here that says, The Nashville Sound, Craft Music Hall. Dinah Shore hosts an affectionate tribute to the music of her hometown, a national recording center, rendering the Nashville Sound, which is a dynamic blend of rock, folk, pop, jazz, and widely popular country and western, are Ray Charles, Eddie Arnold, Johnny Mercer, the Everly Brothers, and the Dancy Stony Mountain Cloggers. I would probably watch that later on, so it's advertising that this big block early on Wednesday evening.
So they're saying the Nashville Sound is all of those different things. And
Combined.
that's interesting. Yeah, and was Nashville still called Music City back then, I wonder?
I don't know. I know Dinah Shore did start out here.
Yeah.
Yep. I used to work at the hotel where she started, the Hermitage Hotel. So that I knew, and I know that Ray Charles had ties here. Okay, evening time on Wednesday. Of course, Mike Douglas, I mean, that guy was a big deal back then. 7:30, The Virginian, Custer, or Lost in Space?
Lost in Space?
Absolutely, I would watch that. And by this time, when Lost in Space was color, it was getting goofier and goofier. Do you remember that?
It was. But it's just, you still want to watch it though.
Of course.
Because you kind of, at some point you get used to the goofiness and you like it.
How about this? 8:30, Second 100 Years, which is a comedy, The Beverly Hillbillies, or Regional Report?
Beverly Hillbillies. Oh, so it was new back then.
Yes, it was in
first
color.
run.
Mm-hmm. 9 o'clock, that Kraft Music Hall that we discussed. Green Acres.
Well, I used to love
those
Green
two,
Acres.
and I like Green Acres.
Yeah.
Yep, I could go either way. Alfred Hitchcock was on at 9:30. A lot of sports later on. Sea Hunt was on 1 o'clock in the morning. Richard Nixon was the guest at 11:30 on Johnny Carson. Okay, we were just looking over some of the records that were popular in 1967, and in previous TV guides we saw a lot of these book clubs that were listed. So let's talk about some of the books that won awards a year later at the Hugo Awards in 1968, 4 things that were published in 1967. So the 1968 Hugo Awards were presented at Baycon in Oakland, California, August 29th to September 2nd.
Hey, I think they still have Baycon in California.
They do.
That's interesting. Yeah.
Isn't that wild? All right, best novel, Lord of Light by Roger Zelazny. Best novella, it was a tie. Riders of the Purple Wage by Philip Jose Farmer and Where Search by Anne McCaffrey. Best novelette,
Gonna Roll the Bones by Fritz Leiber.
Best short story,
I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream by Harlan Ellison.
Best dramatic presentation,
Star Trek, The City on the Edge of Forever, directed by Joseph Pevney and written by Harlan Ellison. Oh, and look, all the nominees are Star Trek episodes. That's cool.
The nominees, Trouble with Tribbles, Mirror Mirror, Doomsday Machine, Amok Time. Can you imagine that? I mean, we're talking about the shows of 1967, and Star Trek was on fire this year.
It had all of those episodes that are still popular now, but they were recognized back then. I mean, I always thought, because we think of Star Trek as being not really recognized until it was in syndication, but it got its moment in the sun back then when it was in first run. It really did.
And this is the key, because the Hugo Awards were people in the sci-fi realm. They knew what was going on. The average person that was on all these other television show award ceremonies, they didn't realize what Star Trek had. They didn't realize how incredible it was.
Because it's science fiction, and that, so it was looked down on by people who didn't really understand science fiction.
Mm-hmm. Best professional magazine, If. Best professional artist, Jack Gauguin. Great year for awards, though. I think the highlight for me is to see Harlan Ellison get credit, as well as everything Star Trek.
Yeah, it was a big year, obviously.
Thanksgiving Day. Now, Thanksgiving Day, what was Thanksgiving Day like in your family? Did you have something that was consistent?
We always watched the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Oh, totally. I think everyone did that, yeah.
Yeah, my mother was a big fan of it.
Mm-hmm.
And she loved all the talent they had. And it was pretty nice. They always had a host, and they would have performers. I mean, it wasn't just the parade going by, you know.
I was excited about the floats, the balloons.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The balloons, they were huge.
When I'd see Superman or Spider-Man, I'd get super excited.
Those were awesome. Yeah, just watching them go by. And sometimes they would, do a little piece on them and say how much work it took to make it and then to blow it up and everything. And the floats too, because the floats really took a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
And some of them had moving parts and everything. And so they were very mechanical and they were huge, and you're just looking at them, and it's such a spectacle. It's so amazing.
Yeah, I agree. Macy's Thanksgiving Parade, and that went on at 10 o'clock. And here's how it describes it. Bonanza's Lauren Green and TV personality Betty White host this telecast of New York City's 41st annual Macy's Parade. Scheduled to appear on the floats are Ed Ames of Daniel Boone, singers Vicky Carr and Bobby V, and the cast of off-Broadway hit You're a Good Man, Charlie Brown. The contingent of hued balloons includes Smokey the Bear, Popeye, Donald Duck, Elsie the Cow, and Superman. Yeah.
Yeah,
That
great.
would have been a good one.
Yeah, I think Superman was always in it.
Always.
I remember that.
He's
yes.
so multi-generational. I mean, we spent Thanksgiving at my grandparents', and I remember because he had a TV room. He was of the generation that did not want a television in the living room. So the living room was connected to the dining room. The parents ate, my cousins and my aunts and uncles and stuff, they all ate at the formal dining area. We were annexed to the kitchen, all the kids, and then we'd run into the TV room to watch TV. And then they would relax and talk in the living room. But it was the same thing every year. I loved it. I loved the Thanksgiving Day parade.
I seem to remember in my family, it was, for Thanksgiving, it was mostly just me and my parents. And it was always the parade and the big lunch and then having leftovers for dinner.
Mm-hmm.
So in this TV guide, so it is nice that, so they had the hosts, Lauren Green and Betty White.
Like if you
still
were to
known now.
exactly,
Yeah.
if you do that now, it would say Lauren Green of Battlestar Galactica
Right.
and Betty White of the Golden Girls.
Oh yeah, wouldn't they do that? Yeah, and this was before, well, of course, before those shows. But I noticed in this one, like they didn't do the close-up ad of the parade.
They didn't.
I mean, it was just in the listings instead of doing an extra ad for it.
But there's a lot of breakdowns of the football games, though, because you had the Rams versus the Lions, and at the time they were the Los Angeles Rams, and the Oakland Raiders versus the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, and football was always a big thing for some people on Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Because they always had a game that day.
Yep. And college football, too. Oklahoma versus Nebraska was playing. So that was another thing with two TVs in a household, because my dad's a huge football fan, and he would always want to change the station, see what's going on in football. Because in my grandparents' house, they only had one television in the TV room, so... Mm-hmm. Yeah, there was a fight over what we're going to watch. All right, how about this? Leave It to Beaver was on at 4:30. A lot of news around 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock. More Merv Griffin. I mean, this guy is huge. How many times he is listed? 7:30 at night, though. And I know the answer. This is going to be no contest. You have a choice of watching Daniel Boone on Thanksgiving evening, Batman, Hall of Fame football, or Arnold Toynbee interview.
Batman.
Of course. Let's see. Rudy Valley and Glynis Johns are guest villains on a 3-part crime caper. Tonight, the Cape Crusaders journey overseas to battle wrongdoing in the capital of Londonium. Batman, Adam West, Robin, Burt Ward, Batgirl, Yvonne Craig.
Yeah, that sounds like a great episode. Even though I don't know the guests on that one, it still sounds great.
Mm-hmm. Another cigarette ad, Terryton 100s with a charcoal filter. And Friday evening. So it'll be the day after Thanksgiving, Black Friday.
Oh, I don't know if it was called Black Friday back then.
I don't know, but here, let's just talk about this. What would you choose at 7 o'clock? Variety of news, F Troop, Love That Bob, Mr. Ed, Folk Guitar, or The Rifleman?
No, I don't think any of those shows.
I would watch F Troop. I like that.
All right.
7:30, Tarzan, The Abominable Snowman of the Himalayas, a 1957 movie, Wild Wild West, Wizard, Hall of Fame football, and Creative Person, a puppet show.
Tarzan.
Really?
That's what I think. I don't know.
I liked Wild Wild West a lot. I thought that was a great
show. You didn't like westerns.
That's not really a western. That
All
has a
right.
little bit of a twist to it. It's like a little bit of like they're like agents. Advertisement for a sewing machine. Encore singer presents Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass.
No, it's not for a sewing machine. That's for an actual singer, isn't it?
Oh, you're right. It's advertising he's going to be on at 8:30 on
Right,
channel
yeah.
3, 11, 12, and 21. Yeah, it's sponsored by Singer, which is a weird looking ad because it has his face over a sewing machine.
Okay.
But sure it is. That's what it is. 8:30, we're going to watch that Tijuana Brass, Gomer Pyle, Hondo, Around the World Under the Sea movie, or Net Journal.
Gomer Pyle.
Yep. And get this, because of the Tijuana Brass special, it gives a little notation. Star Trek will not be seen tonight.
Oh, so that's where they preempted Star Trek.
Star Trek was preempted because of Herb Albert and the Tijuana Brass, which makes no sense because Star Trek is on the cover of this TV guide.
How did that happen? They must have, they probably had Star Trek scheduled. Well, no, maybe they didn't know it at the time. At the time they were going to do the Star Trek article, they didn't realize that the network was going to preempt it.
Yeah, I guess so. That's a strange one. Not happy with that. But, man, it was a great looking through that TV guide.
It's great to see the shows that were on and think back. I mean, the ones that we loved and then the ones that we never heard of.
And some are timeless. Some I could watch right now and just be happy as can be as it was back in 1967.
A lot of shows from then are classics. Yes. Thanks for listening. Make sure you hit that subscribe button and join our Facebook group. Live long and may the force be with you. Nanu Nanu.